What's going on, everyone? You are tuned into She Said What She Said, the podcast where we interview badass women in the sports world and beyond. So we have a little bit different of an episode tonight. We're doing a little post Mother's Day special. And so I was supposed to have two co-hosts tonight. I wanted to try the whole three co-host thing, but someone decided to poison Snack's food. They put like a mushroom in or something. So I'm hoping she's going to be feeling better, but don't put mushrooms in her food. It's very rude. So my co-host tonight is a mom of two wonderful children herself who do not look just like her husband. They look just like her. That make sure you tell her that. She is the former NCAA 400 meter champion and 2012 London Olympic 400 meter semifinalist, Miss Shayna Cox. Hello.
Hey, Sherry. How's it going?
Fantastic. How are you?
Pretty good. Happy to be here as usual.
Absolutely. How was your Mother's Day?
It was great. It was relaxing. I had brunch. I worked out. I did a little shopping. It was just relaxing. Spent time with my family and my kids and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do?
I went to Michigan to see my mother.
How was that?
It was good. I did a crap load of weeding for her.
Wow.
Like, I hate dandelions. I hate to see them. I hate their existence. So I removed every single one from their half-acre lawn.
Oh my gosh.
And then many other things from their garden. So yeah, I just like to really weed the crap out of shit whenever I'm there. It's kind of my thing. I put my headphones in and zone out.
I could see it being something that just kind of you can zone out and get some work done.
Yeah, I just have to remember to wear shoes because I think it was 2 summers ago, I was doing it barefoot, which I enjoy. I like to feel grass under my, little feetsies, especially because I live in the city. And I stepped on a wasp.
Oh gosh. Ooh.
So at least it wasn't a bee because we said, I'm
or snakes. A snake. I thought you were going to say a snake.
Okay, I kind of would rather step on a snake because you ever been stung by a wasp on the arch of your foot?
Never.
It took me out. I was done for the day.
Are you not allergic to bees?
I'm allergic to wasps. I'm allergic to bees. I'm not allergic to wasps.
Okay.
They're different. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So it was just my foot swelled just like where it was and it hurt. So my mommy gave me wine for my whining.
Well. That's why it's nice to be a daughter at our age.
Yes. I still like to be babied, as my mother knows. But I did make her a rum cake for Mother's Day. My dad did the rest of the cooking. So,
sounds like she had a great Mother's Day.
She did. And she just returned me back to Chicago yesterday. So now here I am.
Okay.
So, yeah. And part of the thing, it was not just Mother's Day. I want to celebrate the holiday, but also the life that my mom and I'm sure your mom lived growing up is so much different than the life that we lived.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, I was thinking about is this is the 60s. It is pre-Title IX. Girls did not have any really of the opportunities that we had. I mean, it was through the 70s when women couldn't even run the marathon, right? Because men thought their uterus would fall out.
Yeah. So it's amazing too. And there's so many things like you and I had the same college experience and the things that we normalized, like never, we understood it was obviously privilege because we understand that time has passed and what things were like, but we normalized a lot of the things that were, our parents' dreams,
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't necessarily even been a dream because he didn't even know that it was a possibility.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have sports in your high school, how would you dream of being a college athlete?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, women didn't get sports scholarships, back then. Yeah, it's kind of wild. So that was kind of the inspiration behind making this. So while my mom is not in the sports world, she is still a badass woman and she raised a couple athletes herself.
Yeah.
So let us bring in my very own mother, Miss Debbie Green. Hi, Mom.
Hi. Well, hello there.
Hi, Mom. Happy Mother's Day to you.
How was your Mother's Day, Mom?
It was wonderful. I had a loving daughter here who likes to weed my dandelions, and I do appreciate that a lot because I do the gardens, not the lawns. And I did pull one out today. Sorry. I dug it out. I didn't trim its head. I got the whole thing out.
Okay, good. Yeah. They just bother me so much. She used to pay me as a child to weed the lawn, but joke was on her. I actually enjoyed doing it.
Enjoyed it. Okay.
$2 a bucket.
$2 a bucket, man. I think it started at $1 and then I doubled the rate.
Okay. How many buckets were there?
Many buckets through the summer.
Yeah,
I did the neighbor's lawn too. Yes, Tracy I used to go over to her lawn too. Child labor, man. A little hustle.
Yeah. Well, you worked on some other weeding stuff for one of the summers. You did some.
Yeah. Adam Pabears' landscaping business. A couple summers. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Just have me out there playing in the dirt, but not.
I have country in you after all.
You can remove if you get bored and need some therapy.
Yeah, she's going to have to explain herself when she walks her dog when she weeds other people's lawns. Like, what are you doing weeding my lawn? Just I have to do it.
I'm so sorry. And then people are like, oh, don't take away the dandelions because the bees like them. I'm like, well, I'm allergic to the bees. So I would like the dandelions gone. There were even 2 bees in the lawn coming after me after I removed all the dandelions.
Oh
so
my gosh.
Like, all right.
I want to know what you were doing with their flowers.
Yeah, I haven't seen one on a dandelion yet. But I've got them in my pear tree, though. So,
well, there you go.
But it was a beautiful Mother's Day. Not only was Sherry there, but it was a wonderful, wonderful weather. It was just perfect weather.
Got some good weather. Starting to feel like spring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got about 3 more days of it, and then the temperature's going to drop. But
yeah.
Jeez.
So, Mom, we wanted to take you back to your childhood. For people that don't, my mom is actually 70. I know she doesn't look it.
Not at all. Oh my gosh.
I told your age, Mom. But yeah, my mom is 70.
Just don't call me a senior or elderly. No, none of those.
My elderly mother is 70. She's very frail and she goes to bed so early.
I could probably arm wrestle anybody out there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, she hit me the other day. She's very rude.
Did not.
You did. I was messing with her. But talking about your childhood of what life was like back in the 60s.
I've done the 60s twice now,
and the 60s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we started with was, and first of all, Frank wants to tell you happy Mother's Day, Mama Sherry, and congratulations on raising such a kind-hearted and strong woman. Even though she's a Lions fan, everyone can make one mistake. Thanks, Frank.
Why, thank you.
But I wanted to start on, I put this in the post on there, but tell us what sports opportunities you had in high school.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take that you kind of generally, not to me myself.
Right.
My own sport was horseback riding. Mm-hmm. I had a horse that I got when I was 8, and I kept him through college. College, up until I went to college. But I didn't compete. I just, rode on the backcountry roads and, just all the places. In fact, my first job was, I think that was the first year I had him, was riding to a neighbor's farm, tying him up and picking strawberries. Oh. And so I had that, and we had a cottage on one of Finger Lakes, still have it. And we would go down there every weekend, and I would swim and water ski and just love that sort of stuff. But as far as school sports, I hated school sports. And I just didn't like anything that was out there, but there really weren't any opportunities for the women. They had swimming. I'm not sure that they had real swimming. I know they had synchronized swimming.
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure they had tennis. Pretty sure they had field hockey. When we played basketball, it was half court. I don't think we competed against other schools.
Didn't you say in basketball you could only dribble twice and then you had to pass?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Something like that.
Can you imagine?
By a chance.
Yeah. It wasn't cool. And cheerleading.
You say you hated school sports. What did you dislike about it?
I was bigger than most of the kids. And I couldn't do the feminine stuff. I was the only one who made it up to the top of the rope. The only girl, I think, in my entire high school that made it up to the top of the rope. I could do the strength things really cool. But I really disliked gymnastics, especially the horse, ironically. And my gym teacher was like, why don't you like the horse? And I said, because nobody is strong enough to spot me. I'm going to flatten them if I make a mistake. So she says, okay, well, then I'll spot you. Go ahead, do your vault. So the first vault I did, not on purpose. I kicked her right in the gut, and she just magically passed out. She's okay. You don't have to do that anymore. I like trampoline. That was fun. I used to use pardon me, I just got a cramp in my leg. Okay, water would be good. I used to like the what they used to call a crab football or something. It was with that great big giant ball that you sit on your back legs and you'd kick it with your feet. You could walk around like a crab and then you kick it. Used to love that.
Oh,
I used to love volleyball, but I wasn't a good runner. I would run out of steam very easily. I really wasn't in shape for that sort of stuff. Not like Sherry. I mean, Sherry's ridiculously in shape. She's just, and I'm in much better shape now than I even was in high school. I mean, I do personal training twice a week. In fact, last week my trainer wasn't there, so I generally don't go to the gym by myself. But this time I there was nothing else to do, so I went to the gym, and there was this younger guy there, and he says, "Wow, you're really strong." And he was like, oh, he was actually afraid of me. He was like, I might pound him to a
good
Wolverine or something like that. But I didn't really like the rest of the sports stuff. But if I were to live my life again, having more access to sports, I think I would have played defense in soccer.
Oh, wow.
It was the strength of, I can belt that ball, if I can. In fact, Sherry, I don't know if you remember one of the soccer teams, one of the soccer games that we went to, the other team didn't show up. Remember, you played the parents?
Okay. Don't
and
remember,
it was
but okay.
rain out or something rather. So the parents played and I played defense. And your dad felt sorry for me, and he was trying to play forward and defense at the same time. So he'd come back to help me, and before he got there, I just belt the ball. He was like, "Wow, I didn't know you can do that." Well, I don't have the endurance to run that long, but I've got the power. So I think that's probably what I would have done. I like to swim, but as Sherry knows, I'm slower than molasses in January. Just. But
I mean, they have this super long distance swimming. I can't remember what the longest one is, like a mile or something. You could do that.
I could do that. I could swim for an hour straight easily, but I'm not fast. I have no legs. It's all arms, which is why I think 2 summers in a row, by the time I got to the end of the summer, I couldn't swim anymore because I killed my shoulders, which is why I'm going to training now and make sure that I don't, injure that. But yeah, no, we didn't. Cheerleading was the thing.
Cheerleading is not what we think of cheerleading today. Because when we think of cheerleading today, I think of athletic. I think of gymnastics. I think of dancing.
And it wasn't dancing. It was clapping and getting the crowd all riled up and stuff like that. And I have to say, well, the whole girl thing, girls are mean. They are really mean. And yeah, I saw you mouthing what
I'm not
so
mean.
The thing was, the only in crowd was if you were in cheerleading. And we just, the head basketball player and the head cheerleader were a couple, and if they wanted to wear saddle shoes, they could get away with it. Nobody else could, but whatever fashion trend that they wanted to set, they would set it, and the rest of us were just peons.
How big was your school, Mom?
So I had 350 in my graduating class.
Okay, so it's pretty large.
It was fairly large. And the emphasis in my school was on getting to college. I think 99.9% of us went to college. Yeah. And we were very homogeneous. We were very much the same economic class. This just, everything exactly the same. We had some AP classes, and it was good school, but sports was not a thing with the girls. We had a great basketball team, boys. And I did follow that. That was one thing that I really liked about sports. Well, my oldest brother, Steve, was a basketball player. I actually think he got a soccer scholarship, not a basketball scholarship, but he went on to become a history teacher, and he became the only history teacher, and he became the basketball coach for his school in upstate New York. So because of him, I went to all the basketball games, but I never thought of playing it.
Well, there wasn't a team for it.
There wasn't a team.
If there was a team, would you want to be a great center?
No, I wasn't very good at making baskets. I'd shoot baskets sometimes in the driveway, but I wasn't very good at. I was more. I was not into team sports. I was more anything that was a travel thing to get from here to there. That was my thing. That like swimming from here to there, or I loved water skiing. In fact, I'm still.
Oh wow.
I'm still like, the last time I water skied was when I was 50, and I hadn't water skied since I was maybe 21 or so. And it was funny because Sherry and her sister Jody were at our cottage in upstate New York, and my nephew was trying to teach them how to water ski, and I was so frustrated. I was the spotter in the boat, and I kept howling directions. And I was like, "Oh my God, they don't know how to do this! I grew up water skiing. What is wrong with these people?" And my own daughters. And Dan says to me, he says, "Yeah, Debbie, you want to go water skiing, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And I did kind of a body check. I'm like, "Okay, I think my shoe. Yeah, I think I'm good." And so I got in, I got up. I did it 2 skis because I hadn't been in so many years. I thought, we're not going to be able to do this. And when I had finished the last time, I was slalom skiing on 1 ski. And I thought, oh, I can't start that way. I got to start on 2. So I got up immediately, fell almost immediately, got up again, and I was having a blast. I was in and out of the wake and just having a grand old time. And then I thought, lady, you better quit while you're ahead, because you're going to be really sore. And I was. But I expected it to be anything else but my abs. I was like, why are my abs sore? It's because I was with 2 skis, and I was trying so hard to keep my legs together, because once you let your legs go, you're done.
Yeah.
You're just drawn and quartered. So I was concentrating on that. My abs hurt for like 10 days afterwards. But I was 50.
But it sounds like you still have, even though you didn't maybe have people encouraging you like we have, all throughout high school, all throughout middle school, elementary school, you still had that athletic mindset of getting up and trying something and seeing what your body can do and doing what you enjoy, enjoy doing, not really like thinking about your limits.
Oh yeah. I didn't have limits, but it was also,
as my sister just said, such encouraging words, Mom. You guys suck. Let me show you.
Well, you did.
Thanks, Mom.
And the other thing I really enjoy, I still enjoy sailing. And I don't get a chance to do that here, but I do when I go to New York. My brother sets up the sunfish for me. I can't handle the mast and stuff by myself, but I had a blast with that. But I also only like outdoor sports.
Okay.
I am an outdoor person. Once the weather's nice, I can thank my mom for that, because she was like, "What are you doing inside?" Anytime the sun was shining, anything, my mom just kicked us out of the house. We were just basically not allowed in. So that is where the sports came in for me, is what can I do while I'm outside? And I don't sit. Sherry knows I can't sit for very long. I just get antsy.
Hovers.
I get antsy. I have to get up and.
She hovers around you, like, if you're like, relax, let me cook cook dinner for you. She's
what,
hovering. Like,
what is this relax thing? I know. I just know.
Get out of my hair, lady.
So what was it like then with Sherry and her sister getting into sports and kind of like figuring out what their athletic interests were, and like kind of navigating that? Because I assume it was kind of newish to you. It's always new. Like,
it's just, I mean, I don't think it's a sports thing, but it's kind of a parenting thing that you try to keep a close eye on your kids to what are they good at. Let's encourage whatever they're good at. And even if I don't like what they're good at, if they want to do it, then they want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's, to kind of,
you did try to push some of your interests onto us.
Like what?
Cough, cough.
Horseback riding.
Horseback riding.
Okay.
Well, that was
and that music.
Yes, the music. It's well, that's only natural that anybody tries to do that. But that's things that I was into before, and the horseback riding was funny. And Sherry and Jody are complete opposites in so many ways. And I think as a parent, when you have two kids, it's kind of like
she didn't have to take us water skiing at all growing up. That's true, Jody.
Well, we didn't live in New York. We didn't have a lake access, except for once a year, and you don't do that once a year. Besides which, my brothers were not really good at offering to take you on the mud road. But I was going to say, having two kids in a way is like trying to ski, keeping your legs together to keep the skis from going different directions. You try so hard to make sure it's exactly equal.
Yeah.
For both kids. And then you realize you have to be equal in a different way, because you're both not going to be in the same thing. So I was trying to do the horse thing. It worked for Jody. Jody loved it. And she was just horse. Try to do it with Sherry. And Sherry just went so far and says, okay, that's enough. This is scaring the hell out of me. So I'm not doing it anymore.
It's terrifying.
I still remember that one show that we went to. It was Jody. It must have been Jody's second horse. It had rained. And the jumping course was just pure mud. And Jody had just gotten the second horse, and she didn't have her riding seat yet. And you could see her doing the practice things around the pasture, and she was floating above the saddle. I'm like, you need to just stick to that horse. So then the first jump, her horse slid out from under her, and she goes to the side, and Sherry's just like, oh my God, that's why I'm never riding a horse again.
Pretty much. See, Shane, at your face. Yeah. Terrifying.
I have a lot of respect for horses.
I do too. I love them.
Yeah.
I'm cool with not being on them.
Yeah, I like to look. I like to watch.
I like to pet them.
I suppose there are a lot of other parents who hadn't grown up with horses who would have been scared to death by their kids getting into it.
Yeah.
But since I had, it didn't really scare me that much.
Yeah.
So that was okay. Running at one point in elementary school, I did run. I used to run away from boys. The fastest, everybody was all, go get Debbie. And I'd take off and they wouldn't catch me. But by high school, I think my bones got too heavy and I just couldn't run. I couldn't do the things, that I thought I would be able to do. And I couldn't do it. But you follow what your kids are interested in, and you're proud of them for whatever they've accomplished. It was kind of cool. And it was also, I thought was funny too, that I went to a small school. Sherry's graduating class was 700.
Wow.
And Pioneer was the largest high school in Michigan.
At the time. Yeah.
At that time. Mm-hmm. At that time. And I was, the little fish in the little pond, or little fish in the big pond. They were both big fish in a big pond. And I was so proud of them for doing that, because I was pretty shy. And for them to just take the bull by the horns and say, hey, I'm going to be captain of this track team, or I'm going to be, doing this in the equestrian, and I'm going to win this stuff. And I was like, yeah, you guys are really, they both had their followings, and I was just, jealous of my own kids. Like, you've got so many opportunities, and you're taking it, and you're doing it, and not just sports, but the academics as well, and the AP classes, and like, you guys are killing it. And that was something that I was kind of in the background for everything. So
yeah,
it was
well,
nice.
We were talking on 2 days ago how you were saying that the one thing that the sports brings that you wouldn't necessarily have had the opportunity to have because you didn't have it was that confidence thing, right?
Yes.
Where if you don't have, and you just did this, in the 60s, in the 70s, women just didn't have, like, there was no equestrian team at your high school. You know what I mean? So like, Jody had an equestrian team.
Yes, but remember, she actually technically she didn't graduate because her equestrian thing did not count as a school sport.
Jody Green. Jody has a master's degree, but apparently she didn't technically graduate from high school.
I don't know if she have to weigh in on that if she must have eventually gotten a certificate or something.
Well, one would hope so.
But yeah, that we just started to talk about that, is that for people who are growing up, or just people in general, I think the biggest value that anybody can have is confidence. No matter who you are, what you're doing, if you're not confident, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that sports plays a huge part in that, is that if you're confident in one thing. Now, Sherry herself, this was a thing that when she went to elementary school, she was always trying to keep up with Jody. And she's like, oh, Jody's a much better student than I am. Jody can do this much better, much better. And then Sherry started getting to soccer. Now, first grade didn't help that much because she was playing with the boys, and boy, those boys would come after the ball, and she'd run the other way. Like, yikes, the boys are going to get me. Yeah, get away from me. I don't like boys shooting rocks at them, whatever. But I think it must have been second grade or something that was finally in a girls stuff, and I could see her confidence growing, and all of a sudden it spilled over into academics.
Yeah.
Once she got that confidence in sports, then she was good in academics as well, and everything else was like, I can do this, I can do that, I can do everything. So as one of the avenues to confidence, that's really cool.
And that's, I think, why I think there is value, especially for young women, why there's so much value in sports, whether you're a full scholarship caliber athlete or whether you're, just participating through, school, through high school, because you gain so much of your core confidence from that. And I mean, like it or not, we all get our confidence from somewhere, right? If we're not going to get it from one place, we're getting it from somewhere else. And there's one of the things with me, myself, participating in track was that I've just learned so many just lessons that I apply to so many other things.
Yeah.
There's just so many just valuable life lessons about perseverance, about being disciplined, about being dedicated,
discipline, a team player,
about being disappointed and having to brush yourself off,
about your ability
and congratulating your competitors.
There's so much that you learn that I know my peers who were not involved in sports they just didn't have that experience. Those are lessons that maybe they eventually learned, maybe they didn't, but they learned them much later in life and in probably more difficult ways. I attribute that. And so, that's why I have so much respect for our parents who have raised us, who maybe did not have the opportunity, those opportunities to gain their self-confidence, their self-esteem in that way. Because either way, you've raised like amazing women.
It was fun. I'm sorry I can't launch anybody. Everybody teases me about not having somebody to launch, because we had boarders in our house for many years, and that was the most fun, is to actually get people going, and get them on the path to wherever they're going. But
Mommy, you can help me whenever you want.
There's another thing where she's the opposite of her sister. Her sister says, I'm going to do it myself. Sherry says, help me.
Absolutely. Well, and one thing I know, Mom, one thing you've said something too is like I have a lot of girlfriends. I have a lot of very close girlfriends, and a lot of those girlfriends' origin stories, because they're all superheroes, are from my sports teams. And I do think that that is something that as well, when you don't have the opportunity to even have that, because like, let's be real, like we were friends, you know, in high school, like obviously I went to high school with some really fast women, but like, even if you weren't good, you were still my teammate. You know what I mean? You could, you're still my friend. So you didn't have to be the all-star in order to gain your friendships as well.
Yep. I think that's true. And I was just thinking too of sports is probably the best confidence raiser, but there are also other, I think all the extracurricular activities are very important. And it's one of the things that I learned teaching English as a second language, because it was kind of funny because my family kind of almost thought I was a traitor teaching English, you know, hanging out with the foreigners and all this sort of stuff. But I became much more appreciative of what we do in the United States. And our emphasis in education is not memorizing the textbook like it is in Asia. It's not, you know, being in a class of 50 people, you know, and thinking like everybody else is. I think the United States pushes the idea of independence, and that a good share of your education is not in the academic classroom. It's the sports, it's the music, it's the theater, it's everything else that goes with it that balances you out to be a well-rounded person. And that especially the Asians don't have. They go in there, they get up there, they're going to class from 8 to 3, and then they have after school class, and they're studying until like 8, 10 o'clock at night. Do they have any sports? No. Do they have any theater? No. Do they have anything else? No. They don't even have the opportunity to give a speech because their classes are too big for everybody to give a speech, you know, or write a paper, or, you know, anything that has an individual stamp on it. And Americans probably don't appreciate how much education they have in all aspects in the United States. And it's extremely important to have all those extra things. Or debate team even. There's another thing to learn how to say what you want. That was actually one of my biggest disappointments, is I didn't make the debate team. I couldn't say anything convincing about that pencil they had me talk about.
Was it competitive?
Yeah, and I lost all those competitions, but I think sports does a great job in giving people confidence, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Of course, it ate up all the weekends. Once you guys left home, it was like, oh, Dad and I were like, what do we do? We had no track, we never have no horse events. What are we going to do with the weekend? You know, it was all about the kids.
And I talked to my mom about this. My parents, I started running track when I was in 6th grade, and they were there for everything. They took me to practice. They came to my meets, and like all of my meets, and I never expected them to be there because they were busy. I was one of 4, but they were always there, and kind of just like having your parents support, parents that are bought in to the process, because it's more than just. There are tons of people who play sports and their parents like don't show up, you know, or they're not invested. You know, when you're a parent of a track and field athlete, you have to be invested. And that kind of makes a big difference I mean, for me, it made a huge difference in how I competed, because I'm telling you, if there were thousands of people in the stands, if my parents were there, I was competing for my parents. I wasn't competing for anybody else. Sure.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. It's amazing that some of the parents that I have witnessed who do not participate with their kids. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's not cool. I do feel guilty about Alex, though.
Well, he's not your kid, Mom.
I know. So her Uncle Alex lived with us for 3.5 years, ending when you were born.
Okay.
Ending when you were born, right? Yeah, that was, or maybe you were a year old, I think.
I think he graduated in high school in 84, or did you graduate in 85? One of the two.
One of the two. But we became as kind of, well, almost legal guardians when Jody was 2 months old. So Ted, her dad, had a business for 1 year. I had a newborn baby, and then we had a teenager, a 13-year-old, come live with us. And Dad likes to joke about going to parent-teacher conferences, and people look at him like, "Damn, you started early, you know." This is your kid. Gosh. But Alex was in soccer, and he was in hockey, and we never went to anything. I had a baby, you know. I just, you know, I just couldn't involve myself in that. And, of course, his dad didn't either. I mean, he was in Battle Creek. He wasn't that far away. He didn't participate in anything, and it showed. It showed in Alex that you know he didn't have parental support at all, and but we kind of did some other stuff for him. But that's we kind of think that wasn't quite good. But
do a do-over. Well, you know, you did the best with what you could have. It's not like you planned to have him.
Yeah, really.
You know, it's a little bit different when it's a planned child, where
he was kind of the extra.
Inherit another sibling. And one thing actually, so Shayna, when I was in Michigan, I was going through my parents went to pretty much every single meet. They also videotaped all of them.
Oh, nice. And
they didn't just video me. They videoed many of my teammates.
Oh, wow.
As well. Okay. So I was looking for one specific race. I thought that Snacks and I ran against each other at the 200 at the Slavana Martin meet in Ohio in 2001. Finally found the tape, reviewed it. She actually did not run the 200. She ran the hurdles in that race. But like going through it, like I reached out to Candace Davis, who, you know, I don't know how many times she was an All-American at USC. She's a world silver medalist. She'll be at the show at some point soon. I have like every single race of hers.
Oh, wow.
From her sophomore year. My dad recorded all of her races.
Wow.
And so I know, I told her that yesterday, I think I was talking to her. I was like, I have like all of your races. At least I was looking for 2001. I was like up to like 1 a.m, like watching all of these. And so,
you know,
I thought flip them and watch them. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say we were going to roll some footage of you running.
I don't have that ready yet. I don't have that ready yet, Shayna, but one of my projects I am going, because he has them like, he recorded them, but it's like a lot of like the 20-minute tape or something. So I want to snip out some of the races. And I actually do have, so this was my junior year, indoors, our 4x2 relay at like the state meet. The first 2 legs, they had a terrible baton pass. And so when I got the baton, we were in like 4th place by like, I want to say 30 meters. We got 3rd.
Oh, wow.
I ran out of track to get, I needed a little bit more track to get us up there. But yeah, so that was like one of my favorites. I was like, but it's just so fun. Yeah. Cause it is like, and you have to take away from what time, you know what I mean? You can't necessarily think of what times are. Cause we're so,
it's different now.
It's more of like, it's different. This was like when we had, 2 meets every week. We weren't running PRs, every meet, and we were running, million races in one day. So, but just kind of like seeing the competition of it and just seeing like people that have turned into something in college, like of how much they were ahead by it. It was fun. This is gonna be my project, Shayna. So I will get you some beautiful high school
I'll be
footage.
Waiting for it.
And some Candace. I got a lot of footage of Candace, which is really just fun to see. You're like, there she is.
Yeah.
And your dad did timing too.
My dad did. He
so a lot of those videos actually I took because he was timing.
That's right, because you were timing. Yeah,
I tried to time. I tried once in a long distance race. Oh my God! I thought I was like, what? How many? Has this person been lapped? Or I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. I was so confused. Who's going around and what lap they're on? It was really hard.
Yeah, my dad, yeah, he got so involved in track at my high school, he was still doing timing there at meets after I left.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, at least for 1 year after. I think Alex's mom roped him into doing it for 1 more year.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, and of course he was an assistant soccer coach too.
Yeah.
And then actually he reffed.
He and I reffed. Yeah. A summer job. Yeah.
I always felt sorry for Jody though, because he wasn't into horsing. That was my thing. He couldn't do that. Probably because of his father, who thought the horses were way too dangerous and that she was going to kill herself on a horse and she shouldn't ever be doing that.
To be fair, she did break her leg once. So, it happens. It happens. Just once. So, Mom, why didn't you tell Shayna and everyone else what a wonderful and sweet child I was?
Next topic. You really want to know? No.
I do. Yes.
Well, some of this is not fit for public television.
Mom,
she was as a toddler, as a small child, up through almost junior high. She was really, really difficult.
Tell, please. I would love to know.
Just temper tantrums and just, of course, her sister, I found out many years later, actually poked the bear and got her in trouble. One was Jody was actually just
Jody. Sherry. That's right. I will never forgive you.
I didn't do that. But Sherry was impossible. I used to have a saying, Sherry ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So our life was wrapped around whatever Sherry's mood was. And if Sherry was in a bad mood, then we were all in trouble.
Sherry.
And we couldn't travel with her. Her sister, we did 13 flights, I think, by the time she was 13 months. Sherry, we stopped traveling. Yeah.
Joey, this is rude. She said, it took over 20 years before I broke my leg. How many concussions have you had for running into the ground in arms? You know what, Joey? I've had like 3 or 4 concussions. You as a child and just you as an adult.
Yeah, that's true.
And Mom, how old was I when I started to walk?
9 months.
Wow.
And before she knew what no was. We can walk. We can pull the chair over to the stove and turn the burner on. We can run around the house naked with a handkerchief on our head. We used to call her Bimp Head because she'd run into things. She had a stupid handkerchief on her head, or something like that. And then, well, actually, the very first we would play roll Sherry across the floor. She could only roll one direction, so I
wasn't an ambi-turner.
So we'd set her on one end of the floor, and she'd roll the other way. She'd turn around, then she'd roll back the other way. And she used to shinny up the swings. What was it that had that? What do you call it? The double swing, and she'd shinny up that and shinny down that, and she was always.
I climbed blinds apparently.
Oh yeah, I taught preschool English. English is a second language, and it was kind of funny because Jody got into it. Jody was 3 years old, and her first teaching class was at 3. I had taught the kids their colors. The class before, I had taught them the colors. So the next class, she taught the kids her age their colors. And I thought, this is just because, she's emulating mom, let's do whatever mom does. It's just because I'm a big influence on there. So Sherry came along. I had to stop teaching preschool because she was destroying the classroom. I mean, she'd shinny up the blind. She'd try to stick things in electric sockets. She found a chair.
Sherry. I would have never thought.
Sherry, I'm going to a reunion for Julia, my old boss, at North Campus, and her first memory of you is you standing on your head in a swivel chair in her office. And she's like, "Oh my God, this kid's going to kill herself." I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm not teaching preschool English anymore." Because she was just.
Oh my gosh, Sherry!
I had a lot of energy. Okay.
Oh, she did. She.
A lot of the things you're saying are reminding me of my daughter. strong personality, lots of energy, and it gives me like a hope and confidence that she's going to be okay. She can speak up for herself. She can hang with the big boys. She can do everything that everybody else can do.
Yeah. It's fun. And then when she became a teenager, all of a sudden she became my best bud. And I was devastated when she went to college.
Yeah.
Jody, on the other hand, Jody was my buddy much earlier, but when she got into high school, she didn't want anything to do with Mom. And she said to me later, I know, half jokingly, she says, "That's so you wouldn't miss me when I go to college." I was like, "Yo." So Sherry was my confidant, and but that was, after a very, very, very difficult time, and sports was really good for her because she had a lot of she's like one of those dogs that needs exercising a lot, And
listen, with the CrossFit and the
obstacle course races,
course races, she is still getting that energy out.
Oh yeah,
putting it to good use.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of the way that she has segued from one sport into another. It's like, well, I can't do that anymore. Too many concussions, so I can't play football anymore. So let's get into obstacle courses, or or let's get into climbing walls, or whatever. And it's
apparently climbing goes back to my roots. Can I climb that?
Yeah,
I think I can.
Yeah.
It's fun to learn a new skill. I don't know. Like there's something about learning something that you're like not super good at when you first start, but you're like, I could become good at it. I like that.
Well, your mother learned a new skill at the ripe old age of 65.
Which was what?
Car racing. Say what? Car racing. Racing. Yes.
Really?
Yes. So Sherry's dad had done it since the 80s, and he likes his BMWs, and he stopped when the kids were growing up. He's like, yeah, maybe dad needs to make sure that he's alive, so we can calm down on that. And so anyway, he offered it to his sister first, and then I was like, but I want to go racing. And he says, I said, what car? And he told me what car. And I said, I don't want to race that one. You blew it up once, so I don't trust it. So the next thing I know, he drives home with a brand new car for me. He says, this is what we're going to race in. So I did it the year I turned 65. It was my celebrating joining the Medicare club. and I said, just don't call me a senior. I'm going car racing. So I did it for 3 years, and it was really learning something new. And it was especially as an older person to do this. I mean, I knew kind of I had never gone to the track with my husband. I watched some of his videos, but I wouldn't be dizzy doing it. But I'm the type of person, I don't like to watch, I like to do. I'm not going to watch somebody run around the track, but I'll get in the car and do it. And so her dad would be my instructor most of the time, and he was an awesome instructor. He was just, I know so many women whose husbands don't even like to be in the car with them as a passenger when they're driving on the highway.
Yeah.
I'm hitting 130 and my husband's sitting next to me and says, yeah, that's good. Throttle, more throttle. Okay. That works for me. So I did about, I don't know, maybe 6 times a year for 3 years in a row.
So are you done with that?
I'm done with it. And the reason I'm done is because I got fast enough that I could go solo, and it wasn't as much fun.
Yeah.
I was making my husband sick. He was like, okay, yeah, I made my husband puke, so I guess I'm going fast enough. So, but I liked being able to share it with somebody. I mean, remember this curve, remember that, that guy wiped out in front of us and all that sort of stuff. That was fun, but I didn't really want to do it solo. But it was cool to start from nothing. And the very first session that we went to, the guy was trying to scare everybody. He's like, oh, there's this guy who didn't make that curve, the straightaway, and he didn't make the curve. His brakes failed. He went off the course, flipped upside down with a seatbelt on, landed in the pond. And he's like, you need to check your brakes every once in a while. And these stories, and I would like, okay, I don't need to know all that. And I was like, let's take it down to what exactly I need to know at what point. I will have my husband sitting next to me. He won't let me go further than I'm able to do. And it was it was neat. It was the first time I really remember the strategy of learning.
That is incredible.
Don't take the whole thing at one time. Take it step by step.
And the joy in starting from nothing and kind of learning and excelling at something. There's like there's that little bit of joy in even that, you know?
Yeah. And you're talking about, you know, some of the things that the girls do and that they weren't allowed to do, etc. Well, this was more like not only being feminine, but being older.
Yeah.
I literally got a lot of mileage out of saying, I race cars. People's jaws would hit the floor like, you do what?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden people are listening to me. They're like, hey, you're kicking ass. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, I'm sure that's a lot of the confidence and stuff that you guys get from the sports. And it's not really sports, but in a way it is.
I mean, car racing, well, professional car racing is a sport because apparently you don't have power steering or power brakes. So you need to pretty much move your whole body weight. Yeah. Wild. Learned that one recently. But yeah. And, you know, as we wrap up our time with you, Mom, I did want to, you know, ask you about one more type of question on, you know, the differences of the generations. So now we're from the 60s to the early 70s. How much different it was for your crew going to college for that MRS degree, whereas women now going to college for that actual educational degree. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I expected to be a teacher. And I was, but not in the subject I expected to teach in. I thought I was going to be, I kind of got the shaft because foreign languages were in when I was in high school. By the time I graduated with a master's in German, nobody taught German anymore. So I was at the wrong level for something. And if I hadn't met your dad, I probably would have had to go back to school to find a different subject to study, because I was just left, you know, high and dry because nothing was happening. I expected to work. And I taught ESL for 25 years. But it was, everybody expected to get married, and I felt I was late.
You got married at what age?
25.
And you thought that you were late to get married.
Yeah. My mom got married at 25. And, you know, it was expected thing to do. Yes, I'm going to get married. Yes, I'm going to have kids. No questions asked. Yes, I'm going to college. And I got to choose what college I wanted to go to. My parents didn't give me any push, any direction or the other. They didn't push my brother. I had 3 older brothers, and they didn't say you have to study this or you shouldn't study this. We all got to choose where we wanted to go. But it's you know, it's a lot of these things you can't go back and say, what would I have done if I had not done that? But I think, you know, getting married was probably a, you know, it was part of society. But life became so much better for me once I got married. I would just you know, I can't go back on that. It's just I love being married. I loved having kids. Even though my kids are not going to have any kids. I don't know, but
we have many fur babies for you to spoil. Do you want a dog, a different dog, a cat, or a horse, Mom? You got a whole bunch of ones to choose from.
Yeah.
But how would you say, I mean, you know, just thinking of the attitudes of women's opportunities and possibilities from when you went to college versus how women are now, what would you say the biggest differences are?
Well, sometimes when I was teaching ESL, one of the topics I talked about was my own bend, that I was into teaching. I was into languages. I was into horses. I was into music.
Frank said you can babysit his kids anytime, by the way, if you want some grandchildren.
Thanks. Where are they? I don't know how to do kids. Actually, I tried one afternoon for one of Ted's employees, and with a little toddler was screaming all the time. I'm like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
But toddlers are different.
Yeah. There actually was a pre-toddler. But I would say to my students, I don't know if those are my interests or those are the interests that society pushed me toward.
Yeah.
And I guess that was one of the things that I was kind of, maybe the car thing was almost like a rebellion. Like, I am choosing this. It may not be feminine, but I'm choosing to go in that direction. And even long before, like when I first got married, I was into cars. Ted and I used to read Car and Driver together. You know, we talk about that. And I knew all the 0 to 60s. I could identify any car on the highway, you know, and I knew how to drive a stick shift. My mother drove a stick shift until she was 94.
Oh my gosh.
And then my brother got her first automatic and she couldn't figure out how to drive it. And she was like, this isn't driving a car. Where's my gear shift? You know? But I've often thought about that. And one of the things we didn't talk about is the how people treated women back then. Girls have heard this story many times. In my high school biology class, my biology teacher thought girls were stupid. And I specifically remember a girl in class asking questions, and he turned her and said, that is the stupidest question I've ever heard. Almost verbatim, that's what he said. About 5 minutes later, a boy asked the same damn question. Oh, he was brilliant. I never forgot that. And wow. I went to my counselor afterwards. Do I have to take another science class? Because I really, really don't like this. So I went into languages instead. Wow. And then much later in life, then I was a medical data processor, and then I was a coding specialist. And I got into medical terminology. And I was like, I gave up this stuff when I was in high school because of a man told me I couldn't. I wasn't good at this. And I really liked it because it was almost like another language. And I think if it hadn't have been for that stopping and the beginning, maybe I would have gone into more of a medical field. But some of the other things, I didn't like dissecting. That was the main thing in biology. I don't want to dissect a pig, thank you very much. But medical terminology, hey, that's cool. I like that. So it's little things that people said along the way that just kind of push you in a certain direction. Sometimes you fight back, and sometimes you just can't. I mean,
yeah, I have this conversation with people often about, you know, elementary school and high school being so impressionable. Like you're so impressionable. We talked about confidence and your core confidence, but you know, somebody that I know, we've had this conversation many times, and he said to me, I remember, he's an engineer now. He says, I remember the moment when I felt like I was smart. I had always thought that I was not a smart person. I remember I asked a question in my science and my physics class, and my teacher said to me, you know what? That was such a good question. And he said before that, everything before that, he just thought that he was just, you know, that wasn't his thing.
It makes a difference.
And that completely changed the path of his, you know, his career path. You know,
of course.
Someone, a teacher, you know, said you're smart. Basically, that was intelligent. You know,
teachers and parents have the biggest influence on kids, and sometimes they don't realize the power that they have.
The power of words. Yeah, I forgot about that story about the but I mean that's the whole thing. Like women, especially back then, weren't pushed in STEM, and even now there's still a hard struggle for women to feel.
There was another one with you as a kid though too. There was still an overlap.
Me?
That you and Jody were playing with Meryl's kids, and Meryl was a nurse and her husband was a doctor. They were playing hospital. All the girls were nurses. There was one boy playing with them. He was the doctor. And I said, why aren't any of you girls doctors? And I don't know, was you or your sister said, well, girls can't be doctors. And I said, yes, you can. And they were like, what? You can do that.
Yeah.
I guess if you just don't see it ever.
Yep.
Or even you in kindergarten. Boys are chasing me. I said, what are you running for? Run after them.
Yeah.
And she just created a monster. And people wonder why. Yeah.
But some of that stuff, you know, you just give them a little suggestion, like, oh, maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
And it's scary how much power the parents and the teachers and society have over people.
Well, you did a great job, Mom.
Gee, thank you. Well, I'm so honored to be here.
With the tools that you had, you did a great job raising probably one of my favorite training partners that I've ever had, one of the most memorable people that I have ever run with on a team. Cool. So you did something right.
Well, thank you.
Said all the right things.
Yeah. So, Mom, before you go, and first of all, your little dog photos in the background are just so cute. I had her. I was like, I'm going to have her sit right here in front of the pictures of the dogs so I can look at them.
There's 4 of them up there.
I know the 2 on the side are my childhood. Yeah, the other ones. Yeah. But so, Mom, what advice as a successful mom would you give to Shayna as a newer mom with her oldest turning 5? What advice would you give to her to raising 2 successful children of hers? 30 seconds or less. Give all the advice.
Listen to them. Try to be one step ahead of where they're going. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that is very difficult is for the parent to estimate the path their kid is going to take, to look for signs. What are they good at? Because a lot of that, you only have a very small window of opportunity to get them into that field.
Yeah.
I remember my piano teacher saying to me, when I started piano at 8, you're too old to be a concert pianist if you start at 8.
Yeah.
And that's true of so many things. If you don't start at the right age, you're never going to get. So it's a lot of pressure, but it's, something that you've got to be very aware of, what is a kid good at? And part of it is teaching them to express themselves.
Yeah.
And who are you? You got to figure that out really early as early as you can. And confidence. Yep. Give them confidence, but don't give them a star for participating.
Right.
I did not get participation trophies.
That used to aggravate me. You get a gold star. You were here. Like, you're supposed to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Do something.
Rewarding mediocrity.
I came from a very German household where you didn't get praise. You just got disciplined.
Well, yes, it's, you have to toughen them up. You can't be sensitive to every, and I think that's one of the things that's happening right now is people are getting so sensitive. Oh, you called me this, or you called me that. Like, toughen up a little bit. You gotta fight back. It only hurts if you make it hurt. It's just, you should be strong enough yourself to take any criticism. And I think a lot of people,
they will come.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Better to learn criticism from your parents rather than your first
everything
employer,
you do
because then they'll get fired from their first job. So
yeah. And watch out for spoiling kids, because I don't know. I've got a couple who are really spoiled.
What? No.
I don't believe it.
Oh, believe it. Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks, Mom, for coming and joining us. Well, it's you're so old. It's 10 p.m. there on the East Coast. It's past your bedtime, Mom.
It's past my bedtime, Sherry.
It's not past her bedtime. She'll be texting me at 10:30. I'm like, I'll go to bed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I used to go to bed much earlier than this, but
yeah, you've wised to the ways of the family.
Yes.
But thank you, Mom. We appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. That was kind of fun.
Thank you.
Oh, kind of cool.
Very fun. Very fun.
All right. You have a good night. Love you, Mom.
I love you too, dear.
Thanks. Only guess I'll say I love you too. All right. All right. Bye, Mom.
Good night, all. Have a good one.
That was fun.
It was
insight into the life of Sherry.
I know. I figured you guys would like talk about yourself. I don't want to talk about myself. I mean, my mommy can. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back for our little wrap-up comments.
All righty.
Tranquility, Trey Bella. Alleviate the stress of your day. A fresh approach to nail care service at the top of the pampering scale. Awaken your senses with no chemical smells. Relax, we're at your service with professional, personalized treatments. Enjoy a manicure or pedicure tailored to you. Trey Bella Nail Spa, 10349 South Halsted in Chicago. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Trey Bella Nail Spa or book at TreyBellaNailSpa.com.
And we're back. It's just crazy, I think, to me, because T-Nick jumped in. Yeah, it was sweet talking to my mom. Only guess I'll ever say I love you too. Well, no, Candace, I will too. But like just thinking of 60s and 70s, like the life that we lived is not possible. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. It's things were a lot different, and we chatted before, and I just said, like, it's just the reality. Like, our reality is so different from their reality.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things we take for granted that were not even a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's still going on. I know I've talked to you about this before. Like, at least in Chicago high schools, they have women's flag football as like a fall sport. I would have loved to have played that. Would have kicked ass. And then ninja was not a sport.
Yeah.
And even like ninja, like American Ninja Warrior, that show came out really a few years after we were in college, right? Kind of after the athletic peak. It was, and then took a little bit for women to get on there. And then it was mostly the gymnasts and the pole vaulters. Now we have seen women that were not gymnasts or pole vaulters have success. Now we are seeing the women that were sprinters. And so it's like, man, if I were in high school and I had seen women that had been like me having success in this other sport, which I now find pretty fun, but like, I'm 37. I'm so far behind. It's like maybe when I was 22, 23, like I might have U-turned into that sport,
Yeah. And, I think people who have, like men, for example, who have representation in pretty much any sport that they want, I think it sometimes can be hard to wrap your head around. Like, obviously, like, yeah, you're not a man, but yeah, it's you can still do this sport, but sometimes it doesn't even occur to you that you can do something when you don't see people that look like you doing it. And it's weird. It's a weird concept, but it's the truth. And that's not only for sport, but even in like certain professions where maybe you only see men, do something, like it just doesn't occur to you that you have the opportunity to do that thing and be good at it if you want,
Right. There's so many, I'll say is again, like I love to celebrate women's firsts, but it would be wonderful that there aren't any firsts left. You know what I mean? Because there are so many, like, it's the first woman or the first Black woman or the first lesbian woman, like all these firsts. And it's, at what point, like, are we going to stop having so many goddamn firsts? But there's so many things that women haven't done, or there would be like that one token woman has done it that one time.
Yeah.
And so you can't just have, but yeah, it would be representation 100% matters. And especially when you're super young and you just kind of absorb everything, you're just absorbing it all, right?
Yeah.
Like the way the world was, like men are doctors, right?
Yeah. Yep.
White men are doctors.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing that it was.
Yeah. But times are changing, and hopefully, in another 20 or 30 years, things will be even more different in a better way. You just got to keep doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. What do you wish to see in your daughter's future?
Gee, I don't know. Even for me, we're the same age, but there were things that I had expressed, that I wanted to do. I remember, I never forget this. I asked someone said, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to be the president." and they said to me, well, let's be realistic. You're a girl. And I wasn't, my feelings weren't even hurt. I was like, oh, okay. And so then I just like thought about other things, but like, my daughter is growing up in a world where there is a female vice president, and so that's normal to her. That's going to be normal to her.
Yeah.
So, I just look forward to a world where there's just so many more examples of things that you can do and things that you can be, and being able to say like, wow, when I was younger, things weren't like that. And, because that means that there's change that's happening. What about you?
It's for your daughter's life, but for all young women, it is that. Like, I love younger girls seeing women, do extreme sports, do like any, we're talking about jobs, but it's like professions. But for me, obviously my mind skewers to the sports world, and having, things like climbing as a recent add to the Olympics. Like, there will be like a girl that will be able to look at the, the whole docket of Olympic sports, and she can be like, do I want to play football? Do I want to play hockey? Do I want to wrestle? Do I want to box? Like, so many different opportunities for girls to at such a young age. And that's, I love seeing the ninja for these young girls. I didn't like gymnastics. This shit was terrifying. I didn't want to do like flips on a balance beam.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to have just done these courses, right, where you just swing from one thing and you swing to another. And then you have like the Spartan races that I do. They have the kids Spartan stuff. So, the kids do their little obstacle course races. And I just love seeing that, more opportunities for not just to get their energy out, but just different sports and different things to try, different things to learn. I love I love to learn skills, right? So all these things that these kids can, maybe they master a skill on an obstacle course race. And so that boosts their confidence for when they go to math class.
Yeah.
Like, all those little things add up. And it's really about having that, for your daughter, obviously she'll probably be an Olympian in the 400, but, if she chooses not to go that route, I want her to be able to see everything. Like, the world is her oyster.
And that's my outlook as well.
Yeah. It's like what she sees on TV will be girls that look just like her.
Yeah.
The dolls that she can play with will be girls that look just like her, but also other options. She will see a whole spectrum of things. And
agreed.
And that's really what I want for your daughter and for all of the young ladies out there.
Yeah.
So to finish up, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
Ooh, who are we shouting out to? Ooh, can I? Oh, okay. I went to a Carolina Hurricanes game last night. It's a men's team, a hockey team.
It's fine. I love my professional sports.
It was so much fun, and we are on our way. We're in the Stanley Cup playoffs now. We're hopefully on our way to the Stanley Cup. So we won last night, so shout out the Hurricanes.
Was that your first hockey game you've been to?
It wasn't my first, but it was the first in a long time.
Okay. So, first playoff game, probably.
Yep. So, but yeah, just all the moms out there. It was Mother's Day. We had a great Mother's Day. Shout out to my mom and all the people who have mothered me. There are so many women who have mothered me, but definitely my mom, my grandmother who came all the way from London to visit me last weekend. So, yes.
Fantastic.
What about you?
Well, the Chicago Sky did open their season. Unfortunately, they did not take a W, but I am very excited for Chicago women's sports teams. They had a hard opening game, but yeah, it is that time of year, man. Chicago Sky is starting, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Great. Baseball's back, although my Tigers aren't that good yet.
It's a good time of year.
Yeah, the weather's warm, nice to go running out. But yeah, my shout out to T Nick, who's the one behind here, typing all these crazy things back here. But yeah, shout out to my people with the podcast world and my family. So my mommy and my daddy, and my sister. So she's pretty cool too. It was a good weekend, a good Mother's Day. And I mean, I guess we'll celebrate dads too and Father's Day, but it just seems something like, you got to celebrate your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Got
my dad doesn't care about Father's Day. He's like, what's that?
Same. Neither is mine.
Yes. But moms, I feel like just, moms carry so much of the you guys are an afterthought. Yeah, you are. But, moms carry so much of the emotional burden, the emotional.
Yeah, they do.
They run the household. They really run their careers. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes
and very, very often, some of the things that we just say, oh, that's stuff that's supposed to be done, So.
Yeah. And I mean, and what did Ethan do right before here? Mom, can I have this?
He walked past his father in here and asked me for a snack.
Yes, because that's just what it is. So that is why we go hard for Mother's Day. And it is a beautiful day. It is hot as hell in Chicago. It ain't going to snow tomorrow. But yeah, it's a fun show, completely different than our normal ones. But I enjoyed it. I enjoy it too, and that's all that matters, right? If we have a good time, I don't care what else people think, right?
Yeah.
So, on that note,
this has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.
Bye.
Bye.